Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of my series discussion on the Bob and Nikki series. We're up to book 3 this week, and this week the book is Shady Oaks. I'll show you the cover of the Amazon Kindle book version of this. Again, these books are by Jerry Boyd. This is still the group that was published in 2019. In this installment, it picks up for Bob and his friends. Bob's business really starts to pick up, and after they rescued Dee from the nursing home Shady Oaks in book 2, they discovered that conditions there were not very good. A lot of the residents were being over-medicated, and a lot of the potential was being wasted, according to Dee. So Bob and his friend John Brenham hatch a plan to basically bust people out, Shady Oaks, and make life better for them. And that's what this book focuses on. So there's a big focus on Shady Oaks in this book. Um, there's also a focus on the robots that we met in book 2, Topper, Taz, and Ozzy. Um, and they are not only continuing with their music, but they're also building more cars and more vehicles for John and his friends. Um, John and Bob, they haven't built one for Bob yet. The closest they get in this book is a car hauler, because they start hauling junk cars around and having the boys what they call breathe on them and restore them, essentially. So this book focuses on a lot of those restorations. There's at least 3 major restorations that are done. They get Dee her Chevelle in book 2, then they get her husband Dingus. Dingus and Dee have a ceremony, and they are have a galactic ceremony, and they get married. They haven't had the civil ceremony yet, but they have a galactic ceremony. So Dee, Delilah Mayfield, and Dingus Sloan, who is Nikki's father, the lost guy, they get married. They come back from their ceremony in the galactic territories, and they raid Shady Oaks. So John goes in, buys Shady Oaks as a medical person. He goes in, he hires a bunch of new staff. We meet some of the departing staff. We get to know that like there was a lot of shenanigans going on that we don't know about. Um, and John basically cleans out the place, brings in Joanna Michaels from book 2 to help Dee with some of the administrative stuff. And then we meet several of the other residents. We meet Jim Bailey later in the book. Who doesn't want to get out of bed. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the residents, but he has a background in construction. So they, in their typical pattern, throw him in the auto dock, and they give him a brand new life. And he basically starts working with the bots on construction projects. There's a lot behind Shady Oaks that they turn into like a recreation area for the residents. They start doing all sorts of improvements there and activities for them. There's a whole subplot there with that whole situation that ensues. Then we have a subplot with the robots, because they've basically started their own it amounts to like a restoration issue. So they restore two motorcycles for Dingus. One is um painted like a Palomino that he had, that he was very close to, named Sunshine. So they paint his first motorcycle like Sunshine, eye, tail, mane, the whole thing. And then he decides that he wants something quieter to go hunting with. So they find him another motorcycle, um, and they paint that one like an Appaloosa that he had, and they paint that for him, and they christen that one Dot. So at the end of book 3, he has three vehicles. So they have Dishavel and they have uh, Dingus's two motorcycles. And then there's another subplot that involves this, which is basically like, I think, the main storyline. We learn more about the feud that was hinted at in book 2. Lila, Malacria's Bongwater, the galactic reporter that they had rescued from a sabotaged saucer. Um, she comes and she's been doing research into the whole thing, and it looks as if Dingus's stranding has not been an accident, but there's some further developments that come. They rescue some more people. They rescue the Mendhams, and they rescue um, Mikolek Mendham, and they find out that Mikolek Mendham is a member of the patrol who's gone bad. He was Nikki's former trainer. Um, he is now currently Randinkus's, who they christened Random. Um, Randinkus had gotten into uh, um, a sabotage saucer. She got into a situation and they had to rescue her. So now the the implications are is that he's gone bad, and there's a feud between the Slongums, who are Dingus's ancestors, Dingus and Nikki and Max. And then they have the so they have the Slongums, the Rottums, the Rottums are Bill Rottum's group and Major Rottum from the patrol, the ones that have been uh, responsible for their bounty collections, and have been handling that in high places. And then you have this Mendham group, which we don't know too much about, but it seems to be a three-way feud, and everybody's mad at everyone else, but everybody blames the Slongums for starting it. So Lila's trying to get to the bottom of it, and meanwhile, Bob's business is growing, and so is his cast of characters. Um, what I like about this book, it's a little more action-packed than the others. So there's a little more hijinks, a little more like rescuing people from saucers, and sort of the same kind of thing that their business does. So you meet that, but you have this trail running through it. But you also have a lot of domestic details. So like I said, this is not super high stakes, although there is this line of tension that runs, like, will Bob's business get discovered? What will they do? How will they keep from being discovered? Will they be part of the galactic um, civilization? Because Bob is seriously considering that, but there's complications to that as well. And there, more and more people from Shady Oaks are finding out about it, and they're getting more staff for Shady Oaks, but more people are finding out about the dock, so they want to get better. And so there's there's that situation. I like following the sort of, I hate to call it domestic, but it really is sort of a domestic situation. You're just following everybody as they sort of go about their day and find these jobs kind of fell on them. They didn't go seeking it, but now they all have these jobs and they're all helping each other and living together and trying to do their best for everybody. And they're just going about living their lives. In the midst of this saucer repair that Bob has now fallen into. He's fallen into the saucer repair job, and it it's all about just how that setting works and the things they get into. And so this volume, as I said, focuses on, cleaning out the staff at the nursing home and trying to make it better for them there. At the end of this book, it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger because one of Bob's staff, um, Jane Williams, is the head nurse there at Shady Oaks. And she has a son with a genetic defect who has been sickly most of his life. He goes into the auto dock. He has a recovery from there. They're able to remove the genetic defect and he's healed. And then there's their friend Julie at the restaurant. She has a husband named Steve, and Steve is not a good guy. Steve goes after Bob and he puts a snake in his truck, hoping that Bob will get struck and die. Well, Bob doesn't, but the snake was a female and she was pregnant. So she deposited eggs before they got her out. And one of those eggs bites Jim Bailey when Jim borrows uh, Bob's truck to go drive into town. So Jim gets struck by the rattler. And then Molly, his canine, his dog, can't be found. So now we have two dogs. We have Schnitz, who belongs to Nikki and Bob, and we have Molly that belongs to Jim Bailey. So that's where we're left after part three. And as I said, I'm looking forward to, I already know kind of what happens, but I'm looking forward to the next installment as we continually add to the cast of characters and see what continues to go on at Shady Oaks and watch the robots as they grow their knowledge and become more and more skilled. There's an important scene in this book that I should mention too that gives you an indication of the kind of person Bob is and gives you an indication about sentience and how important that's going to become. That's going to become a theme later on in these books is AI and sentience and working with robots and how you do that effectively. And Bob has his house, his initial property, and it has a gun safe in the chimney, or so he's led to believe. Well, it turns out that is booby trapped with weapons attached. And so he sends in this little mechanical bot to go and take the chimney apart and take the explosive out. And of course, the robots are concerned, as is everyone. There's a very delicate operation that ensues, and I'll let you read about it in the book. But Bob goes in, and at one point, his bots ask him, are you gonna sacrifice him? Because he takes it outside, digs a hole, and they think that he's gonna put the mechanical bot down and just explode the device in the hole. And Bob says, why would I do that? He's part of the team. And they have a very delicate operation to remove sort of the bot from this explosive device. And so you get your first indication of what kind of being Bob is, and you know what kind of being he is in terms of having his other three cargo bots who have their personality limiters removed. You get an indication that Bob has quite an affinity for all of that and really sees them as people, as humans. And you'll see that more as the books continue. But that's it for this installment. If you're reading along, I hope you're enjoying, and I will see you next week for book 4. Book 4 is Starfeet. Okay? I'll see you then. Take care, stay healthy, and I'll see you in my next video, everyone. Bye for now.